Hi there. Today on The Switch, we are joined by Mr. Olushola Adegborioye, a marketing communication professional with over 30 years of experience spanning in communication, financial advisory, and brand management. He started off as a civil engineer and a chartered accountant, and then took a bold switch into the world of marketing, becoming a strategic force in the industry. Mr. Shola will tell us more about himself as we move on to him to hear how he journeyed from center spread and other area. Welcome on the show, Mr. Shola Adegborioye.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It's a pleasure being here. Like you rightly said, my name is Olushola Adegborioye. Did I do a bold switch? Well, I started out. I graduated from school as a civil engineer, and then worked for a couple of years before I got into this interesting audit firm, Ernst & Young International, one of the 4 largest audit firms in the world. And then from there, I then became a chartered accountant and management consultant. And from there, I had to do some consulting service for an advertising agency. I was recruited as the head of finance, and from there, the journey into communication started about 30 years ago. That's a long while. Yeah, it is a very long while. It's been a very interesting journey. And, like I always tell people, sometimes some of those things, you kind of ask yourself, what's the correlation between somebody who grew up to want to be a civil engineer and then who then decides to be a brand management person. Civil engineering is about building, and the joy of engineering basically is having one or two people conceive an idea who is the architect. You see a lot of drawings, lines on the paper, and then bringing those lines to life into a structure or a building or highway today is the joy one had in all of those things. And when then comes to like some of the few things I did as an accountant or a chartered accountant, it was more of the fact that you see businesses that are, my area of specialty was looking at businesses that seem to be not doing well. Come in, talk to them about what needs to be done, put some things in place, and then the business begins to thrive. And then you see that you have rebuilt an organization. Same thing too for brands. You have a product, you have a service that is not known, and you put a lot of communications behind it, you put a lot of strategy behind it, understanding the consumers and all of that. And a relatively unknown product years ago now becomes a household name. Today, it's a brand. And so that you have built something out of nothing. So the area of trying to bring things to life, some correlation between all of that from engineering to communication. So that's why I said that switch, but I think basically it's just the fundamentals seemingly are.
So what are those fundamentals? Because I was going to say, because I was saying you've already said a part of it, but I wanted to go a bit deeper
into it.
What I mean is, can you tell us now? Yes, we know there are fundamentals, but how did these fundamentals play out? Yes. So give us those defining moments. Yes, that gave you that, bold switch.
Okay, let's start from my very early ages.
Yeah.
I think from about 7, your parents or your family friends would always ask, what do you want to become in life? I don't think I ever said anything different from either I want to be an engineer or I want to be an architect. So that had gone with me all my years. And getting into the university or having to step out of Unilag and not going to Unilag was because I was not admitted for civil engineering. So there's what you call that focus from the onset, some conception as to what you want to be in life and all that. That early, in the midst of all of it. And then getting into engineering, finishing engineering, one of the things I think I learned also about university education was the fact that it gives you the platform to build on. You don't necessarily have to practice what you studied in school. University education is supposed to broaden up your mind to a lot of things. So this art that came from Ernst & Young or the big audit firms then, graduates of any discipline can apply. And I'm wondering what a graduate of any discipline can do in accounting. So I applied, and thank God for everything. I excelled. And then I went to do an assignment, and somebody said, "You have come here to tell us all our problems. You know what? Come and solve the problem." And then that was how I got from being on the other side to tell people the problems to now be the one at the seat trying to solve the problems. And I always say to people also, I mean, thank God we all became Christians along the line. You see, I recall this analogy some time back where they said to us that, you know, like this carpet that we're stepping on now, I'm told that when the hand-woven ones have been done, the Persian rugs, for example, they start out with a design that everyone must follow. And when they're doing hand-woven designs, the set of people on this side would have that design. The set of people on the other end of it would also have the designs, but they're supposed to work at the same pace. Okay. So if I make a mistake here, and I have turned left instead of right, I have to tell the person at the other end to make the same mistake.
So that you are aligned.
So that we're aligned. But at the end of the day, you see that the Persian rug becomes what it becomes, and we all say it is beautiful, not knowing the mistakes that probably had gone into it. And the manufacturers tell us that 80 to 90% of it don't end up being the way they started in terms of the concept of the design. Wow. But we call it beautiful. That's the pattern of our lives. Our left turns, our right turns, our ups and downs, they are patterns that eventually lead us to where we need to get to. When it came to advertising, I recall growing up, traveling out of the country, and very much interested in watching advertisements. But did I know that it was going to play a role in my life later? No. Growing up was also, you were taught to be consistent. You were taught to be diligent. You were taught to evolve the spirit of excellence. And those things really had played a role in my life. And those are the things that I seemingly look at and say that defined my moments in life. Getting into accounting, the first assignment I had to do, I didn't know anything.
Without an accounting knowledge.
I didn't have an accounting knowledge. The guy who was supposed to supervise me left for the bank. And rather than go back to the office for 2 weeks, not doing anything, I spoke to my supervisor and I said to him, "Just do me a favor. Tell me what to do. I will try." You know? And surprisingly, he was impressed. Yes, I made my mistakes. Yes, he corrected my mistakes. But he saw somebody who was willing to learn.
And then he gave a chance.
And he gave me a chance. And that chance made that particular person, all through my 3.5 years in Ernst & Young, my mentor. He led me on every almost of all his accounts that he had because he saw something. And when I also started work and I had the opportunity of trying to employ people, I wasn't looking for a perfect person. All I was just looking for was if you just want to learn. That's going to be, because if I didn't have a chance, I won't be where I am. I was given a chance, and that's the difference. So when you look at a lot of young guys today, I always say to you, Look, never be afraid to make your mistakes. That's one. Secondly, no one is going to be on your neck, no one is going to be on your shoulders, but please be diligent in what you do. Whatever you find yourself doing, do it well.
Irrespective of who is watching.
Because you don't know where you're going to get to. And that's really another part of it.